For Christmas, we're going to make Linzer cookies, and this is the cookie cutter set. We actually bought this at Home Goods for $7, and you can kind of see it from the back. It comes with the cookie cutter part and these different little inserts into that. Yeah, that has like an angel and a, is it a star, I guess?
Star.
And a candy cane and a bell and a tree and an ornament, and those are the different shapes you do. And it comes with a recipe on the side, so we're just going to literally follow the recipe that's on the box. So what you need is you need flour, sugar, salt, baking powder, got my egg here so it won't escape, a stick of butter, vanilla, some powdered sugar just for the top. Oh, you got brown sugar out. That's okay.
I hit powdered sugar.
Powdered sugar from the top. And then you need this seedless red raspberry jam. And I'm assuming you could probably use anything. If you wanted strawberry or anything, it's just on the package itself it says seedless raspberry or apricot jam. I guess that's the traditional Linzer cookie. But if you really wanted something else, if you didn't like those, who's to say you can't put,
Right.
Frosting on them if you wanted to, whatever you want. So, so I'm going to get my ingredients measured out, and I'll be right back. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to get 1 1/3 cup of flour and just put it in a bowl, just a kind of mixing bowl. I need to get my metal bowls out. I think those would be nice mixing bowls.
You want me to get it before you start?
No, that's okay. Let me get a knife. You're just literally, you're not mixing any liquids up. You're just doing powder in this anyway. So it's just something to hold it while it's while you're kind of mixing the flour together. So there's the 1 cup and 1/3. And then we need 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt and 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder. I'm gonna get my baking powder out first since I have to actually scoop this in, and then I can just pour the sugar. So I don't want to contaminate my baking powder. So did I say sugar? I meant salt. So this always like this. You can put this and just kind of rake it right on the top of the lid. I wonder if they do that on purpose. So it's just 1/4 of a teaspoon of this, of baking powder. And then I think I have enough salt in this to do a 1/4. And 1/4 a teaspoon of salt. And I'm just going to take again, I'm not very prepared here lately. I don't know what the deal is with me. I'm just going to get a fork and just kind of mix the salt and the baking powder together just to where it's kind of mixed in there. It doesn't have to be exact. Just kind of fluff them together there a little bit. Some people would say sift them together in a sifter. I'm not that fancy. We'll just do a fork. Works pretty good. Okay. Let me clean up some of this stuff that I won't need anymore, and I'll be right back. Flour and all the other stuff. So now I'm going to take this butter, and this has been sitting out for about an hour and a half probably. And I'm just going to put it in chunks in here. What we're going to end up doing is creaming it with the sugar. So I just kind of, instead of making it work all that time, just make it cut it up itself. Why not do some of its work for it? Okay. And then I'm going to put 3/4 of a cup of sugar, and I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. Okay, it's 3/4 of a cup. And I'm basically just going to let it get it to where it's creamy and smooth. You don't want it to have any lumps or anything like that. I got this magic device called a scraper now. I didn't have this in my last video, so we bought this literally did we buy this in the dollar store? At the Dollar Tree.
Yeah.
We bought this at the Dollar Tree for $1, and it's silicone. It's not going to get hung up in there. If it does, who cares? It's $1, right? So just to make sure you get it scraped down the side, and it does that. A good example of why you don't let go of it. Why you want to turn it off before you do it, huh?
Should I put that on a blooper reel?
Yeah. Oops. For those that haven't watched the other ones, this is a new mixer, so we're still trying to learn the ins and outs of it. So I see a part I need to scrape on the side. I'm going to turn it off this time and scrape it just so it doesn't stick on the bottom. It looked pretty good actually, but just to make sure. It looks like it's getting pretty creamy though. You can see the butter and the sugar is all integrated pretty good together. So yeah, there was a spot right there on the bottom that just had butter sitting there. I wanted to get in it. Okay, so the next step is to put in, like I said, I'm just following this recipe straight down. So we've got our egg and vanilla. So 1 egg. And a teaspoon of vanilla. And I tell you what, I'm going to turn this off and raise this up because I know I'm just going to get vanilla everywhere. Kind of looks awful right now, doesn't it?
Looks like eggs.
Eggy. So I'm just going to let that mix up pretty good until it's well mixed up, and then I'm going to start adding my flour. So it'll take, I'm just going to leave it for a few minutes and let it do this, and I'm going to clean up my other stuff that I've made a mess with. Pretty good and mixed up. I'm going to just start adding my flour. I'm just going to use a spoon and just start adding my flour mixture. This is the easiest way I found to do it. If you're supposed to gradually do something, why not take a spoon and just drop spoonfuls of it in there? It's not hard. No fancy materials needed, you know, it's just dropping spoonfuls of flour. Now when I get down to the end where I have to dump it, I'll probably have to stop it and raise it up to do it, but for right now, this works really good. Okay, let me dump the last bit, and I don't have much left. You can see I just didn't have enough to really put in a spoon. Okay. What I'm doing is mixing this until a dough forms, and you can see how it's kind of coming together as a hump. See how it's all kind of gathering on the thing. So that's what you're looking for, is a dough. And I'll probably just, let me turn it off and let me just scrape the sides real quick just to make sure I get it all mixed in. That's the only disadvantage from, I hate to say it, my cheap ball mixer from last time. You didn't really have to scrape the sides down. The bad thing is, it also took 10 years to do anything. So really this, you know what, 30 seconds of me taking and scraping the side down, more than outweighs the other mixer mixing it up. So if you do any kind of baking at all, go ahead and spend the money and get a good mixer. And I love baking and cooking, so and Tammy does too.
I like him to do the recipe.
Yeah, here, make this. Okay, that looks like that's pretty good. So I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to get, I'm going to rake it all down in the bowl, and then I'm going to give me a piece of parchment paper out, and then I'll be right back. Parchment paper down, we just get the Reynolds wrap parchment, put it down on a cookie sheet. What you're going to do is I'm going to divide this dough, and you can kind of see what it looks like. And it doesn't have to be exactly even. It's not like half is going to be the tops, half is going to be the bottoms. But you just want to kind of get it in 2 equal lumps. And I could have done it in a bowl or whatever, but this just seemed to be the easiest way for us. But we're going to put it in the refrigerator for 2 hours and let it cool. And don't put it in the freezer, put it in the refrigerator and let it rest. And once you get done in the refrigerator for 2 hours, you're going to roll them out and actually start making your cookies. So I guess you're given the opportunity for the butter to re-harden or re-firm up a little bit. Because if you don't, it'll be awfully squishy cookies and sticky. So I'm just gonna, I can't leave them in lumpy balls like that. Sorry. I'm a little OCD. Okay. So those are gonna go in the refrigerator, like I said, for 2 hours, and then we'll be back when they come out. I've got my oven on 350, 375. Oven's on 375, just letting it preheat. I wanted to show you what these look like. I'm ready pretty much to take them out of the refrigerator and start rolling them out and stuff. But there's the cutter. And what you do is you push it down, and then you can take this little red part and push it if the cookie gets stuck, and it'll come out. Push the cookie out. And then here's your shapes. And what did you want? Like bells or angels? Or
I want all of them.
she wants all of them. We'll start with an angel. what you do is you take, and you're going to do equal number of just without the insert and the insert. So if you have however much dough you have, for every, like what I do is usually do like 3 of the bottoms, and I'll do like 3 of the inserts, and then 3 bottoms and 3 inserts. But they're real easy to put in. All you do is lay them in there, and you just turn them until they kind of slide underneath these little notches on the side. And then when you cut them, you're cutting out the ring around and the insert on the inside, and then you can push the red part, and it pushes them out. So it's pretty cool.
And these are cool. I've seen these sets at Home Goods, the Halloween sets too.
Yeah, they do have Halloween. They probably have different patterns even in the Christmas ones too. So I'm going to get my stuff out of the refrigerator. I just wanted to show you these the cutters before I started using them, kind of what they look like before they get taken apart. I actually ended up putting the dough on a plate instead of on a cookie sheet, because the cookie sheet was just too big, so who needed that? So what I did was I kept my parchment paper and put it back on the pan so I can just use it to bake on. These are pretty firm. I'm wondering if they're going to roll out at all, but I've got just a piece of wax paper. I think that'll roll out actually pretty good. I like to do things with my hands just to get it kind of close to where it needs to be. And these have to be like 3/16, which is pretty thin. I mean, that's a pretty thin dough. You know, I'm thinking like that, literally that thick for the whole thing. So that's probably 3/16 right there. And so I'm gonna have to get it down to where they're all about that thickness. And yeah, I thought that being firm would be a problem, but I don't think it will be, because it's you don't want it's starting to already get a little tacky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to put another piece of wax paper on top, and we'll see how it works out. If it doesn't, I'm trying not to put any more flour or anything like that than I have to. And then I got a big rolling pin here, and I'm just going to slowly work it out. And I've always seen where you're supposed to rotate it and then roll it out this way too. And that keeps it even. I don't know. I'm not an expert on rolling by any means. I tend to get them thinner on the edges too. Some of it's probably thinner than it needs to be. Actually, that looks really thin. Anyway, we'll see. Actually, I'm wondering if I shouldn't stick this back in the refrigerator, because it's getting a little tacky on top, and you really don't want it to be sticky.
You think your hands have warmed it up?
Well, just working the butter and stuff in the dough. Let me see. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 6 patterns. So if I make 2 of each, that'll be 12 cookies. So let's just see how it works out. And if it's too small, if it's too soft, I'll just stick it back in the refrigerator for a little while. I did stick the other ball of dough back in the refrigerator just to make sure.
Is that the angel or?
This is just
nothing.
the bottoms.
Oh, okay.
And you can get these pretty close. And if they get stuck, you can push the little thing, but they're staying on the wax paper pretty good. That's why I'm worried about them. I'm wondering if they're going to come off at all. Let me do one more.
You could get a spatula and scoop them.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can just.
You know that pointy spatula?
I'm hoping I can just take my hand and scoop them, but I'm afraid it's going to ruin my. It's going to stretch them. Yeah, that's stuck.
What spatula would work.
See how it gets deformed? But these cookies won't rise a lot, so I tell you what I'll do is I'll cut them out and then I'll stick them back in the refrigerator. I think that's enough bottoms for every top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 7. Yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these and move them over to the refrigerator because they're too sticky right now. I'll put them in the refrigerator and then I'll roll out my other half of my dough, and then by then this will be firm enough, I think, to where I can pull them back off, and then the other one I'll have them rolled out and stamped out, and I'll just switch places with them. This is just the second ball. The other one's in the refrigerator firming up, and I'm hoping they'll come off easier if they're they're firmed up, not as sticky. One thing I have to say is I hate rolling stuff out. There should be an easier way to roll crap out. You know, I mean, you know, like they have those fondant rollers and stuff. They should make those easy home fondant rollers. You know, that would be cool. Anyway, I'm about done. I think, you know, they have those bands and stuff that tells you how thick stuff is. I don't know. I was thinking about getting some, but now that I look at it, my rolling pin's really not wide enough to where it would have helped anyway. So it wouldn't have done me any good. But I tend to make the edges too thin and the middle still too thick. And again, I just don't do enough of it to get really good at it. I think that's probably good. It's probably a good thickness, isn't it? Okay. And it's starting to get sticky again too, so I'll once I cut them out, I'll stick them back in the refrigerator too. So now I've gotten plenty of these, so I need to wash those. Now I need at least 2, 4, 6, I need 8 of these. Maybe I'll only go 4 and then switch over to 1 each, and then we'll see how it goes from there. And I'll be able to make some more dough too. I'll be able to take this dough and squish it all together and make some more. So this is not like it's all I've got.
I like the candy cane the least, just because it looks backwards to me.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it?
I don't know.
Well, it's going to be flipped over. It can be flipped over.
Oh, yeah, well, that's true.
Okay, so now I'm going to switch them out. I'm going to, actually, I'll probably put this It'll fit in there. And I'm going to cool these off, and I should be able to pull the other ones out. I hope. Seems like this is going to work pretty good, because that pulled off right off. Yeah, oh yeah. Like, pulled right off there. So, much better than that one came out. The hard ones are going to be these, and what I'm going to do is, once I show you how to do a couple of them, I'm going to get Tammy to help me pick these off. But you can see, that's pretty cool. And I'll be able to take that extra dough and roll it up again and do some more cookies with it too. So don't just throw it away. It's perfectly good. Just that little bit of extra dough that I had after I pulled these out. They came out pretty good after I chilled them. So definitely chill them off. Let them firm up a little bit before you try to peel them off with the wax paper. This is the next batch. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick a couple more onto this, and then I'll take this tray and put them in the oven. They bake for 7 to 9 minutes, just so they get firmed up. You don't want them really brown. These won't get like a real super brown cookie. It's been 7 minutes, and you can see the thinner ones turn a little browner than the other ones. I knew there was a couple that I had thin edges on, but the other ones, they look good and firm. They're not too brown. Like I said, they shouldn't be that brown. Luckily, these are bottoms. We'll cover those up with the tops anyway. So they look really good. So I'm going to let them sit for just a minute to let them just kind of like settle. And then I'll take a spatula and transfer them over to these cooling racks. And I have another pan, stay right there. I have another pan that I've almost finished that I will be just finishing up the last few on. And I'll stick these in there for another 7 to 9 minutes. And these will be good to go and we'll be done. Batch out of the oven, they look really good. Some of them, I'll tell you, if they're thicker, and they tend to run a little bit. These are the ones that were thicker if they run. That one's pretty good, but that one, like by Star, that one was just funky when I put it on there. But that tree's really good shape. This ornament, the ornaments are really good shape. Candy canes are pretty good, but if they're too thick, they tend to run. And I was doing these by hand too, so you know, they'll run together like this. So the thinner they are, the better these kind of cookies are. So our next step is to once we get them on the cooling rack, you notice I've got this one on a cookie sheet. I'm going to take powdered sugar and put it in a wire sifter, like a strainer, and I'm just going to put just a spoonful in there and just tap that sifter and just put powdered sugar over the top of all these tops. This is cooled, and I've got my wire strainer, and I'm just going to lay it right there so I can not get it everywhere. I've just got a spoon and some powdered sugar here, and I'm just going to take a spoonful. I don't think it'll take a ton anyway. And put it in a little bit. And I'm going to dump that everywhere if I'm not careful. Okay. We're watching Christmas movies, just in case you're wondering what
what is the Santa Claus is coming to town?
Yeah, Santa Claus is coming to town.
Santa Claus is coming to town.
Not my favorite, but it's pretty good. Anyway, just take this and just tap it, and you can see how it kind of looks like snow. Bad thing is it makes a mess.
That's okay. We have Clorox wipes, or Lysol wipes. Lysol wipes.
That's true. But I like a lot on mine. I'm going to take these. I'll probably move them over to something that doesn't have powdered sugar everywhere. And what I'm going to do next is put the jelly on the bottoms. And I'll show you that the next step. But I'm going to move these over to a pan to where, like I said, they don't have powdered sugar everywhere. Here, like I said, just you want the red raspberry, but make sure it's the seedless kind because you don't want these to have seeds on them. They don't spread very well. This is at room temperature. If it's cold, it'll be a lot harder to spread. And what I usually do is I take a spoon and I just kind of break it up in there and kind of get it, I don't know, I hate, for lack of a better word, squishy, broken up, mushy, I don't know how you want to say it, but you don't want the big hunks of jelly in there. So I just kind of squish it and break it up really good. And I want it, because you don't want it to be kind of smooth, you don't want it to be chunky at all. It smells really good. Yeah, and I just got a bowl to where it's easier to deal with because it's hard to get it out of this that container. So what I'm going to do is I'll start over here in this corner. I forgot to grab the tops. I decided to leave them on there. We got powdered sugar everywhere anyway, so what difference does it make? What's a little bit more, right? So I got my tops. You see I've got the powdered sugar on there. Got my bottoms. Got my jelly. So what you want to do is take your cookies, and when you pick them up, flip them over to the bottoms, and then you want to put your jelly on the actual bottom of the cookies. And spread just a little bit, and you can have as much or as little as you want. Looks pretty good to me, doesn't it to you? And then just take a top, and stick it on there, and then lay it right there. And there you go. So anyway, sorry I had to pause there for a minute. I'm gonna keep doing these, and again, you can put as much jelly as you want to. The bad thing is you don't want too much. Because if you put too much, you're just going to squish it all out the side and you just make a mess. So just keep going through these, and the shapes look really cool. The stars, even though I like those the best, I think they turned out the worst. Because the little points on the stars, they all just disappeared, and now you just get this little like diamond shape in there on every one of them. So it's okay, but it's just that one. The more detail you have, the less likely they're going to stay that way. So,
Kevin is still putting the cookies together, and I found this tin, and I put 8 cookies in here. There are 4 on the bottom, and then I put a piece of wax paper and 4 on the top. And they're very pretty, and I tasted one, and they're good. The raspberry jam's a little bitter, so you know it's traditional. To put raspberry jam, or what was it, apricot? But you don't.
Apricot's probably a little sweeter on it.
You don't have to. I mean, you could put grape or anything, like Kevin said earlier. But they're very pretty cookies. They're just they take a little time because there's so many steps.
And they're not super sweet cookies.
Right.
The bitterness of the raspberry, you said, kind of takes away from the sweetness of the cookie a little bit.
Mm-hmm.